There's Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hello.
Okay, so what we have now is a panel of some Tesla owners, and we're going to start with Jason. We all have different reasons for going electric and buying Teslas, and we even have some people who have tried other brands and switched to Teslas or have both. So let's just let Jason take it away and tell us why he went with a Tesla.
Sure. Thank you. And first of all, thank you for all of the presenters that we've had today. I've learned a lot. I didn't know about Zero motorcycles. Learned a lot about Audi, the ID4, and the Porsche Taycan and the Jaguar I-Pace. So thank you for everybody that participated. As far as why I decided to go electric, in 2012. I really didn't even know much about Tesla, and I saw the unveiling of the Model S, and I am a car guy to start with, and what really intrigued me was the performance and the technology that's built into the car. The moment that I saw it, it was the first electric car that I had seen that was not only beautiful in design, but it was also a high performance car. And so those two things really brought me into the world. And then once at that point, I thought I would never really be able to own a Tesla. But thankfully through hard work and dedication, and I was able to get one. And I got to say that it was a wonderful decision, and I now that I've driven one and that I've owned one, I will never go back. All of the sustainability aspects of owning an electric vehicle, make me feel much better about contributing to the world's transition to sustainable energy. And that was just an added benefit. And the more I got into it, the more I learned about global warming and climate change, the more I realized that this is an opportunity for me to sort of do my part. And the other thing is all of the technology that's built into the car is right up my alley. The Model S specifically has the 17-inch screen. It's just that part's been wonderful. And then of course all of the other benefits you get from the car, which is the minimal maintenance, again, the beauty of the car and the performance are all things that I absolutely love about it. And one thing that I was concerned about initially was the range and the charging and how would that work. And I've learned over time that range anxiety is just a term that somebody created, but it's not a real thing in the real world, particularly with Tesla because of the supercharging network. Whenever we take a trip, the GPS system is going to automatically plan where we need to stop and charge and how long we need to charge for, and how quickly the supercharges charge. Generally, you're only there for 10 to 20 minutes at max. And we usually plan our lunch breaks and bathroom breaks around that as well. So for us, and when I say us, my wife and I, we really, it hasn't made, a huge difference. So range anxiety has not been a thing for us. So those are just a couple of reasons why I decided to go electric, and why I love it. And so.
Well, thank you, Jason. And I can say it's always exciting to me to see your beautiful white Model S drive up in my driveway. It is beautiful, and I love all of them. Okay, actually, I don't know if John Limpalair, because I want to say just one quick word in case we run out of time for me at the end, is two of my main reasons for going with the Tesla are on this panel today. John Limpalair and Christoph Limpalair. I'm going to be a mom right now because I wanted them to have a future on this earth. And that's why I went solar and the electric cars. and the battery backups is to try and assure that they would have a future on this earth with sustainable transportation, and that their children would have a future. So I don't know, is John on here? Is he on there?
Yeah, if we can bring everybody on, that would be great.
I'll go ahead and start with Chris because he's there. Chris Limpalair, go ahead, take it from there.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed the event so far, and I've learned a lot about some of the other cars as well. I have a 2018 Tesla Model 3, so I'm a lot more familiar on the Tesla side, not as much on Audi, Porsche, etc. So thank you all for coming on and sharing some of that. I was trying to think back when I was talking to my mom, Rebecca, because I was trying to think back of how I first heard about Tesla. And I think it dates back to maybe 2016, 2015, when I first read an article on Forbes that talked about how Tesla had just announced a supercharger network. And I think that's really when it flipped in my head that Tesla and electric vehicles were really going to revolutionize transportation, because up until that point, like you said, Jason, a lot of people kept saying, you can't own an EV because you're going to run out of juice. You're not going to be able to get from point A to point B. And a lot of people had that fear. And as soon as they announced that supercharger network, I thought this is going to completely change that perception. Now, unfortunately, some people do still think that, but from personal experience of having owned a Model 3 for the last 2-3 years at this point, I've never had a problem with that. I will say I don't commute very, very long distances, but probably the biggest trip I've done is I live in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. So going from DFW to Austin, which is about 310 miles, give or take a few. And so at that point, I did have to stop at a supercharger and charge the car there. But otherwise, just driving around town, on a day-to-day basis, I just charge at night. I go to sleep, I plug in the car, I go to sleep, I wake up in the morning, and it's fully charged. And I've actually noticed that I much prefer that over having to go to a gas station. Like on a day-to-day basis, you really don't actually think about range at all. The only times I think about it is when I'm doing a cross-country or out-of-state trip, or again, from DFW to Austin. Otherwise, I literally never have to worry about, hey, do I have enough gas in my car? I literally just go in the car, drive off, come back, plug it in, and I'm done. So it's really a wonderful thing that I think a lot of people misunderstand at first. But once they have the car, once they have that experience, then it totally changes it. One other quick thing or two quick things I'll mention that I love about the car is, number one, the dashboard and how clean it is. Now, anytime I go back to a different car that is not a Model 3 or a Model S or something like that, and I see all the clunky buttons and things that you have to move and touch and everything, it kind of feels like I'm stepping back in time. And usually I forget how to operate those cars. I'm just kind of like, okay, well, how do I go in reverse, or how do I go forward? So it's actually been an interesting experience, and something else that I think sometimes people look at those cars and say, well, I want the buttons, where'd they go? But then when they get used to the new system and way of doing it, after that, they have a hard time going back. The other thing that's a little bit more subtle that not a lot of people talk about that I absolutely love, especially living in Texas, is the AC unit and system works exceptionally well. It's probably the best AC and heating that I've personally experienced in a vehicle before. It just works. You get in the car, you can pre-cool it, pre-warm it. You get in it, and you don't have to touch anything. It knows what temperature you want. It gets it done. You don't have to mess with any of the knobs or anything like that. So it's just been such a nice little detail and feature that I've truly enjoyed about my Model 3.
Thank you so much, Chris. I totally agree with everything you said. And I have to add one little detail. I actually thought I was going to have a Model 3 because it actually fits in a teacher's budget a little better than the Model S. And so I was one of those crazy people who drove down at 5 o'clock in the morning, March 17th or something like that in 2018 or 17, and drove over there to be one of the first ones in line. And I was like number 3 in line in Atlanta to order a Model 3. And then I ended up getting my Model S, and then Chris was able to get that. We were able to switch that since he was a member of the family, and he was able to get that car, and I was just so excited about that. Okay, so thank you so much. Omar, I've been really interested in hearing, because you have some really great news and you have a lot of experience with different kinds of Teslas, so I would like to hear everything you have to say.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for having me on. You know, it's been great to pop in throughout the day as I've been chasing my kids around this morning, but to pop in through all the presentations and learn a bunch today. So thanks for having hosting the whole day, but also having this little forum for us to speak. Um, yeah, so I mean, my sustainability journey started probably in around 2006, actually, pre-Tesla even. And I'm a musician and I teach here at Furman University, and I'm on the music faculty here in the department. And I've always explored the ways for sustainability and music to sort of intersect and integrate and interact. And so, as I got older, as I was going through graduate school and whatnot, I was trying to find ways to sort of walk the walk and talk the talk in terms of living sustainably on top of just making music in any number of different ways, sustainably as well. Done a lot of research on it, et cetera, et cetera. And I sort of lived. I'm a drummer, so I've always had beater cars. I've never been a car person because I've always shredded my cars, throwing instruments in and out of them. When I play at the Greenville Symphony here in town, I'll end up having to load my car up with gear, and things get scratched and whatever. So I've never really had a want to sort of have a fancy car. But as the years went on, and I sort of saw the Model S, particularly at the unveil, and when 2012, no, not the unveil, but when it started going into production around 2012, and started seeing a few in town here in Greenville, I just sort of got enamored with the company, and just sort of kept tabs on it. But it was always a car that I knew I'd probably never have. Having a elementary school spouse and me being a musician, full time. It's like, okay, well, someday maybe, And then out comes the Model 3 unveil. And I remember watching it and be like, oh, I have to have this car. And then I put my reservation down a month later and sat on the list for anyone here that sat on the list, the wait that we had to go through. As my Model 3 was coming up in April of 2018, I got mine. But before that, we actually found a used Model S in town that a private seller was selling. So we jumped on this 2013 VIN number 7006, actually. Model S, very basic Model S, didn't even have the navigation. It didn't have the tech package, which doesn't exist now. It's all included now. But yeah, we had a Model S in December of 2017. Then we got our Model 3 April of 2018, and we thought that'd be the end of our Tesla journey here in my house. The S went to my wife, and I took the 3. And then I don't know, this past summer, we've been road tripping a lot in the Model 3 a lot, and we kind of like, well, maybe a little more room would be nice. And so just recently we traded in the Model S, and we actually picked up our Model Y this past weekend. So I've had it for about a week. So yeah, in our garage right now, we have the Model 3 and the Model Y. So I know the running joke is S3XY to spell out sexy, but we prefer in the house calling it Y3S for yes. We've had those 3, and had a lot of experience with the 3 and the S, obviously. But the Y, we're getting to know. We're loving it. We love the feel of it. It feels rock solid, and it's a nice iteration on the 3. Actually, lots of nice improvements, lots of nice little improvements here and there, and looking forward to testing out some of the range, like the heat pump and those kinds of things. Looking forward to testing those out as the weather cools down as well.
Yeah, I understand that the Y is supposed to have some super duper heating HVAC kind of system that maybe in the future we'll be able to have in our homes.
Yeah, I think it's called the Octovalve, I believe is what it's called, and it's meant to disperse.
I would love to see a better option for heat pumps in our homes, because they're not as great as they should be, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. All right, let's switch to Jess. Hi, Jess, up there from Charlotte. So nice to see you.
Hey, Rebecca. Yeah, very nice to see you.
Jess, because I know that I believe you had a Leaf before, right?
Yes, we've had 2 Leafs actually. We've had a Volt, a Leaf. Now we have 2 Model 3s in our garage. So, I guess I could share that I got started in electric because I was sort of already in the mindset with owning a couple of hybrids. My wife and I had Honda Civic hybrid and a Prius, and we were very much into, it started out as how efficient could we be with those cars? How many miles per gallon could we get? They definitely gamified that. And that started to turn into how much less gas could we be using, which then turned into thoughts of, maybe our next car could be electric, or maybe it could be mostly electric. We definitely had our eyes on Tesla, but it was too far out of our price range, especially when you're driving hybrids. They tend to be very uh, efficient, not only on gas, but on your wallet as well. So why go pay extra for a big expensive electric car? So I looked at the Volt, we looked at the Leaf, actually settled on the Volt because I thought it was, even though it has a gas generator, I felt like it was a better EV out there than the Leaf at the time. I think the i3 was still starting to come out. And I thought this is the best thing aside from a Tesla. And I thought I would be okay with a limited range. Coming from gas, I thought, I could handle that. But what really impressed me about it was just how good the electric drive experience was in that car. And it's funny because I didn't have range anxiety in that car. I had like gas anxiety, right? So I didn't want to use the gas ever in that car. I drove around with 1.5 gallons of gas in it, and really did all my driving on the electric only. And actually really regretted getting it for the first year, because I thought maybe I should have just got an all electric car. You just wanted more electric range, right? So um, my wife ended up driving the car as well on the weekend and loved it so much she got tired of her Prius. So we decided to jump into a Leaf for her. So we had the Volt and the Leaf for a few years, and we knew that the Model 3 was coming. And Rebecca, like you, I was one of those crazy people standing in line in Charlotte. I think I got there around 7:30 in the morning, was one of the first 50. But I don't regret that experience at all. So we ended up ordering that, getting that car in March of 2018. And 9 months later, New Year's Eve, actually, we decided to trade in the Leaf and get my wife a Model 3 as well, because we knew Tesla was good, and we thought that with the range limitations, even on the Leaf, it's funny, just as a side note, when people get electric cars, I think part of the novelty is plugging it in. And certainly that was fun. But I'd have to say, when you drive a short range EV, that plugging in part starts to get a little tiresome, at least in my personal opinion. And we were wanting to, sometimes park the car where we wanted to park and not feel like we had to park it at a charging station. So a lot of times people seek out that charging station, but I'd rather go park in the back somewhere. So we got the Model 3s because they just have so much range. And as Chris was saying, that you just don't think about range at all in those cars, especially in local drives. You can go where you want, you can park where you want, you don't have to charge the car if you don't want to. Yeah, so we've been enjoying it. And actually in the pandemic, I've actually been driving probably more. Me and my daughter go hiking, so we've been taking day trips up to the mountains, or to Stone Mountain, Pilot Mountain, any mountainous areas around the area. And we tried to gamify it to see how can we get there and get back and not have to charge, because it really does take some time out of your day if you're doing a day trip. But with these cars, they offer that flexibility and range that you don't have to if you don't want to. So yeah, so that's my story.
Well, and Jess, I'm so thankful that you're there, because before Jason created our Facebook group here in Greenville area, I didn't know where to go, and I found you guys and joined up there and started listening in, and it was really I'm really, really glad that I was able to listen to other people and even talk about other brands and that kind of thing. So I really thank you for all you're doing up there in Charlotte and inspiring.
Yeah.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you.
Thanks again for having me. Yeah, this is we've actually been hosting the Drive Electric Week here in Charlotte for the past 4 or 5 years. This is the first year that we haven't because of the pandemic, but I was thankful that Jason reached out to me to get me to participate in this. So I can I can finally feel like I'm participating this year.
I'm hoping we can go back to a live format. I think it would be really a lot more fun.
Yeah. Agreed.
So I participated in the one in Columbia last year, and it was just so much fun. And actually, participating is a lot more easy than organizing one for sure. Right,
Yes, it
Jason?
is.
right, right, Jess. But
Yes, it
anyway,
is.
Oh yeah,
we get the whole experience and we learn a lot from all of that. Thank you so much.
yeah. I think
Okay.
we all
Thank you.
learned a lot.
Yeah, really. I want to move to John Limpalair now. John, come tell us about yours.
Sure. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, great. My journey actually started back in 2010. I was a college student at USC, and I was just walking to class in Swearingen, and there was a beautiful Tesla Roadster, not the new Roadster, the old school OG Roadster sitting there for people to go and look at. So I actually fell in love with that, and ever since I've been watching, for a long time I sat back and watched Tesla from the sideline. Being a broke college student, it was only a dream. Forward to 2012, I started driving a Prius that my parents gave me. Very, very generous to give me a Prius. Drove that until March of 2019. Let me step back a little bit. In January of 2018, I started hearing from solicitors. I usually hate solicitors, but I'm a numbers guy, and they started coming around talking about solar panels, so they got me really interested in that. And I started doing the math of how much money I could save. Shortly thereafter, April of 2018 is when I switched over to solar. And it wasn't long before that, I've been saving since for a while to try and get a Tesla, ever since seeing that Roadster and falling in love with it. March of 2019 is when I finally pulled the plug after having to sit there and be tortured by both my mom getting a Model S in 2017 and my brother getting a 3 in 2018. Finally, it was my turn in 2019. And I finally was able to get a Model 3. And what really boosted me, I'm a numbers guy, like I said, I love a deal. And so when I saw all the incentives, not only for solar panels, but also for electric cars, I was able to get not the full amount, unfortunately, but the $3,750 off of the Model 3. That was my push to get it before that. You have to once more. And I've been loving it ever since. Like everybody else mentioned, it's really a great car to drive. The range anxiety, I'll take a little bit of a devil's advocate stance. I don't have range anxiety, but you have to be a patient person. So I will say, if you're not a patient person, you might want to either get the longer range vehicles or figure out what your commutes are or what your usual travel times are, because you might have to wait a little bit. But that's not been an issue for me. Like my brother said, I just charge at home. I've got 13,000 miles on my car, and I have yet to actually use a supercharger because I don't drive far enough. I mean, the furthest I've driven it is to Greenville here and back to my house in Columbia, and I still have 18% left on my battery, so it's never been an issue. Just plug in at night and let it charge. I'm a cars guy, like Jason mentioned, and so the Prius is a great car, but it's not quite. I don't think many people describe the Prius as a fun car to drive anyway, in terms of acceleration and performance. And so that was kind of the dream for me, going finally from the Prius to the Tesla. It was not only paying less in gas, being great for the environment, but also getting the performance aspect that I had been wanting for a long time but not being able to do that with the Prius. So I keep having people asking me if I could do it different, would I change? And I think I keep telling them that it's been a great car. If I had to buy another one, I would do it in a heartbeat.
We have to say that John also is the proud owner of a beautiful Ducati. So he does like beautiful machines, and it is a beautiful machine. I love it too. Not very good on the gas, I imagine. But
Not quite.
and I'm just really proud that you went solar as well. And I just want to add, let's see what time it is. I just wanted to add, interesting, because John mentioned that he had to suffer through my having the Model S and John and Chris having the Model 3. But then it was my turn to get jealous of them because I only had an MCU1. And they kept getting all these cool updates and games and all of this great stuff and visualization of cones and everything. And I didn't get any of that, even though I had full self-driving on my car. So I just recently upgraded to the MCU2. So I don't have to be jealous, but I am still a little jealous of their range though, because my car is like stated 259, which of course we know the way we drive can change that, but theirs is like 320. And that would have been, if I could have afforded to have a more range on my Model S, I definitely would have gone with that as well. But this is my car and I love it. So, okay, I believe we still have, thank you so much, John. And I do have to thank John, because without John, I think I would have messed up a lot more than I did today in all of this. He helped me stay on track, and he videoed us in the first part, videoed me, and also kept me unmuted, muted, and just really has been essential to the success today. So I would like to, I believe Paul, is Paul there somewhere?
Yeah, I'm on here.
Hey, Paul. So
Hey,
happy
can you hear me okay?
I met Paul last year, I believe. You came over to my solar open house.
Yeah,
And,
brought the whole family over.
yeah, one of the first Teslas to ever drive, other than mine, to drive up in front of my house. And I was so excited to see you and Rick Boozer and see those Teslas there, and to meet other Tesla owners, local Tesla owners, face to face. So tell
Well, I guess my wife's boss had the Roadster, and so we were familiar with the company and just knew it was beyond what we were comfortable ever spending on a vehicle. And kind of casually, I heard that they introduced the $35,000 version, and I heard about the features and the safety, and the acceleration, and I was like, man, that would be really cool to have. And this was like the morning after, so I think they opened it up, in March, like in the evening, and we were actually in the airport the next morning leaving, and my wife was like, yeah, you should get one of those, you should order one. And I'm like, what? Like that's on the table? So I'm waiting to be called to board the plane, and I'm filling out and putting my $1,000 down. I knew nothing. I didn't even really know what the car looked like. I really wasn't attracted to it, but I knew the mission, and I was like, I'm down for that, because in 100 years, gas is not going to get any better, but renewable energies and batteries can get better, and I would like to, put my bet in my future and my kids in a car that can potentially drive itself and withstand amazing damage, and they will still be alive. So that's kind of, and then I really didn't jump into the fanboy groups and Facebook groups until they called me and they were like, hey, it's in Atlanta, come get it. And I was like, I should talk to other people. Like, I need a charger. I got to charge it somewhere. So I got a charger, installed it at the house, and really that's all. I, like everybody else said, that's all I do. Charge it at night. We've been to Missouri, we've been to Florida several times, and we've been to Myrtle Beach without charging at all. And 3 or 4 hours, especially with the family, to stop for a half an hour and charge has not been, the people that haven't experienced complain, but I don't think anybody that has experienced not stopping at a gas station once a week ever complains about, taking an extra break or planning your breaks around lunch and charging at the same time. So I think that's a, kind of ridiculous thing if somebody's worried about it. I didn't have any idea that the software told you where to charge, when to charge, and would take care of you. And I ran into a guy in Charleston. He owned a Model 3, and he's like, oh, the car does that. And I'm like, what do you mean the car does that? And he's like, it's an app and it's a thing. And he explained it. But I wasn't in part of the groups to really get that orientation. And we all know how Tesla doesn't do the best of overselling their cars or even marketing them. It's well, you'll see, and then you experience it. And you're like, holy crap, this is so much more than what I thought it would be. Huge fan now. Would love, to get the ugly truck when it comes out. But I don't know if my wife's gonna. We haven't talked her into that one just yet. But it's been a positive experience. I call it the acceleration smile, and no matter what feature, kind of gets worn out, you're always getting updates, which is ridiculous, and no charge. And you just and I've got the long range 2018, Model 3, and I've driven tons of sports cars, and this is fast, and it's not even the all-wheel drive or the performance model. And you get people in the passenger seat, they're like, how fast will it go? And you're like, this fast, and they're genuinely shocked. That never gets old. So yeah, I kind of like it. This is my tribe. My family is sick of me talking about Elon and Tesla. So thanks for letting me chat.
Yeah, and Paul, I love the fact that you're actually zooming from your car, right?
Yeah, we're on a fishing trip in Colombia. I powered up, charged about 90% last night. We came in this morning, and then we'll head back without even having to charge again.
So are you at the charging station right now?
Nope, we're at a little fish camp, just to grab a little pizza and then get back out on the water and go fishing again.
Nice, nice. Has anybody used their camping mode? I don't know. Yeah. Have you?
Extensively, actually.
Okay.
I went on a week-long 3,000-mile road trip with a music ensemble I was working with. They tour nationally. I didn't want to ride the buses, so I just followed them along in my car, and went from here to Ohio, up into Michigan, over into Pennsylvania, and then back down to South Carolina over a week, and slept in my car. This was before there was a camping mode option in your AC where you could just leave it on, but now there's a button that actually says camping mode. But yeah, I would just plug in at night, I would charge till I got to where I needed to go. And then I just left my airbed. I was driving by myself, so I would just leave my back seat down and leave the airbed, air mattress up. And then, just hop in the back seat, take a nap, leave the AC on, and let the sun wake me up in the morning. No, it works great, actually. Saved a lot of money, and it saved me, a lot of time flying or riding an uncomfy tour bus.
Yeah. Okay. I think we got around everybody except for me. Can I go now? Is that okay with you guys? I'll go now. At the risk of boring, some of you probably heard my story before. But I really got interested because of the environment and because Chris, my son, just kind of got me interested, and we started listening to all the SpaceX stuff and everything, and sharing and talking about the business possibilities and everything. And so I have a 2017, December 2017 Model S 75, which is plenty fast enough for me. And also I am 100% solar. And I also have 3 Tesla Powerwalls that do the battery backup, which happen to be hand signed in limited editions, signed by Elon and Franz and Mr. Staubel, and which provides all of our needs, so we don't use any fossil fuels to charge the car. We actually got a really, really large system, and because we wanted to go ahead and assume we do have a Prius. As like John said, the Prius is not the most exciting car to drive, especially after when I switch back and try and drive the Prius, I'm like, this is really dangerous because I'm going to try and jump out in front of something, and it's just not going to go. So even though it does have a little power mode on there, it's better. But yeah, after driving a Tesla, it's really hard to drive anything else. I just love having today we have Ex Machina, which is mine, and John's Venom in the garage together, and I love having both of them here. So we wanted to have enough solar so that if we had a second electric vehicle, we could actually do that. So I do have my sights set on the Cybertruck, just because I'm a science fiction buff. I know it's kind of crazy, but I have measured it. They have this app where you can measure it, and it's a little tight for my garage, but I guess it's a tough car. I guess it could stay outside, right? We just have to find a way to put another charger outside or something like that. let's see, did I cover? I don't know if it covered. Oh, I do have full self-driving. We haven't talked about that today. I do. I wanted to get that. Not everybody wants full self-driving. The reason I went ahead with that package from the very beginning, one of the main reasons, even though I love driving my car myself, is that I have, so just a message here. Oh, okay. So just had a message here. Is that because I'm 65 years old, and I notice every year that my reaction time is not as fast as it used to be. I used to be really fast and everything. And now I feel like I'm getting slower, even though I can't help that. It's just because I'm getting older. And I liked the idea that this car was technology advanced, taking me toward my science fiction dreams as much as I would be able to go in my lifetime. And that I felt like it would have a faster reaction time than I would, and maybe keep me from causing an accident. And with the radar being able to see so far, we've even seen videos where the car has actually anticipated accidents with the car in front and started slowing down. I like the fact that if I passed out or something like that, it would slow down and pull me over instead of causing harm to other people as well. So just a lot of those reasons. I realize that full self-driving is not perfect at this point, but they are making great strides. I've seen when I got my AP3 computer and also upgraded to the MCU2, the visualizations are reassuring, because on the MCU1 I couldn't have those visualizations of the cones and all that kind of thing the way I do now. So it reassures me that the car is actually seeing, since it does depend. We don't have LiDAR. We have it's the cameras that are seeing everything. So I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to say, or I'm not seeing any questions at this time in chat. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add about full self? I don't know if you guys have full self-driving, if you like it, you want it, you hate it, you're scared of it. Anybody have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I'll chime in. I'm jealous of anyone that does have full self-driving features and hardware 3. My 2016 Model S has Old Faithful is what I like to call it, AP1, and it works great on the interstate. But I am very jealous of everyone that has that snappier touch screen and that hardware 3. But yeah, one day, soon enough.
Hey Rebecca, this is Jess. I have both full self-driving and hardware 3. I actually was fortunate enough to buy both, actually, the basic autopilot and full self-driving during that fire sale that Tesla had. So I got both for the price of what was enhanced autopilot at the time.
Right.
And I don't regret it at all. I find that since I got the hardware 3, the autopilot is much more confident than what it was before. I used to call it like a scared teenage driver. But now it seems to be much more confident and much more fluid with a lot of what it does. Having said that, I have been using the traffic light awareness, and I find it's a little aggressive for my taste. It doesn't want to slow down until what feels like the last minute. My family does not like me using it because of that. They're used to my more laid back, slowing down at ease kind of, because I don't like to stop at stoplights. I'm always trying to anticipate and just keep moving. Whereas it seems to want to do the same thing, but it does it at 50 miles an hour until it realizes it can't go through, and then it slams on the brakes. But I feel like it is eventually going to get there. I feel like full autopilot has always been a little on the sketchy side at first until they get enough data and they get enough updates out, and then it starts to feel human. I think that the first time I felt the car, when I drove past a semi truck and I felt it move slightly over to the left side of the lane and then move slightly back centered as it got past, that was the most human I had ever felt it be. And I thought if they could replicate that in a lot of what they do, it's going to be really tremendous. And one other thing I wanted to add is, like you, I was also thinking that if this was the last car I ever got, or if something were to happen to me to cause me to be handicapped in some way, that I thought that this would be a great thing to have to help me continue to get around and drive and not feel like I cannot do that anymore. So I thought that was a great point.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the updates is really exciting. I don't know, I'm just like a child. When I get a new update, I have to run down and see it and see what's going on. And I had that experience. I was driving up to Charlotte one day, and in fact, my car was not even on autopilot. And all of a sudden, I saw this motorcycle coming up, and I was like, wow, he's really close. And all of a sudden, my car went beep, 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 and actually moved over slightly in the, like you said, in the lane, even though it wasn't on autopilot. And I was like, wow, you know, and then it moved back. And so since we had gotten the dash cam, I was able to go back and see what happened. Because like, why did the car do that? And he actually was really, really close to me and like staring at my car. And I know as your eyes go, your car follows, you know. And so he was he was actually in my lane. And so I was really thankful for that. And I felt like probably very confident that as time goes on, I think all of those things, I would like to see more, personally, I'd like to see more personalization on that, because like you say, the car can be a little bit surprisingly aggressive, not drive the way we drive. I like the fact that changing lanes, we can choose whether we want mild or aggressive, you know, or average or Mad Max, because Mad Max is not my thing. But mild was like, okay, can we go ahead and change now? You know,
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. I wish they would let us. I think sometimes my car hugs a little the left a little more than I'm comfortable with. And I never know if that's my car that does that or if everyone's does that. So it's always comforting to be able to go on the Facebook pages and ask those questions and see what other drivers are experiencing. But I think like as far as slowing down, I would like to see us be able to choose the style of driving a little bit more. There are some things we can do, but we can't do everything that we want to. It would make us feel more comfortable if we can choose exactly the style of driving that we want.
If I can jump in too, I have full self-driving on my Model 3 and not on the Y. My wife just doesn't want it. You know, she doesn't like it. I do. And so to piggyback on Jess's point about the braking at green lights or red lights, you know, granted, that's the newest part of the technology, so it's still probably the most in development. But I've also found if you're really good at your one pedal regen braking and you have hold mode on, you don't even hit your brakes when you're driving. You don't even have to hit your brakes. If you time it right, the car will just stop at, you know, just come to a slow stop and then stop for you at the red light. I have found right now with that red light, green light stopping for your autopilot, it actually uses your brakes to slow down because it's so aggressive sometimes if you're going faster. So you can actually yourself right now be more efficient about your brake pads and not using your brakes at all right now compared to the full self-driving software. So I actually prefer, I'll turn it off, you know, for some of those just to make sure I'm not using my brakes as much and just, you know, let those brake pads last just a little longer.
Okay, does anybody, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. Are there any questions that you guys would like to ask each other or experiences that you'd like to share? So now that we know we have about 5 minutes left, I think.
A quick
I will.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for the ones that do have full self-driving, I mean, you mentioned, Omar, that your wife doesn't necessarily like it as much because it's a little bit more aggressive. If you're talking to somebody who doesn't have it yet, who's thinking about buying it, would you say, yes, absolutely, undoubtedly buy it? Or would you say maybe try it out first and see if it's something you like because you may not like it? What's your approach usually for that?
Yeah, so for my car, it's you know, Tesla suffers from how many different ways they've sold the whole autopilot suite and how many different combinations they've sold it in. So when I got my car, there was no autopilot standard at all. So I jumped in on that EAP, the enhanced autopilot fire sale that Jess mentioned, and then the full self-driving fire sale. So, you know, I got it all total for less than what it costs now, you know. So there's a price benefit thing, right now, the reason we're not upgrading it on the Y is because my wife is perfectly happy with the standard autopilot now, which was not standard on my Model 3 when I got it. Driving the Y, just a little bit this week and trying it out. I've only driven it locally, so I haven't gone on the highway, but it works just fine. So I guess you have to weigh how much you really want that navigate on, the features you're missing from the basic autopilot, which is navigate on autopilot, the auto lane change, summon. Those things are nice, and then also it's like how long you're going to have the car. If you're on lease, you're kind of banking that you're going to have those features by the time the lease is over. The new features, the city driving features as they add them. I'm probably going to have these cars forever, to be honest. So I don't mind waiting, having that full self-driving package. And when it comes, I'll have only paid the price I paid for it, and I'll get the features as they come, So it's all a matter of the price trade-off. I will say that I have not met anyone else that has a Model 3 or Y that regrets getting FSD. And I'll also say that I've met a whole lot of people that regret not getting it, especially after the recent price increases on it. So for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I agree with Omar with regards to how long do you plan on having the car, because it is a lot of money, and it's only going to get better. So if you plan on having the car for as long as you can, you're going to reap the benefit of all those updates and improvements to full self-driving. But if you're going to keep the car for 2 or 3 years, or maybe even 4 or 5 years, it may not be worth it to you. But again, that's obviously a personal choice. But just to share my story, when I got my car, I didn't get autopilot either, but I did get I think it was a 1 week free trial for it. And it didn't have navigate on autopilot at that time. It was just strictly lane and speed assist. And I loved it. And I thought, oh my gosh, I really should have gotten this when I bought the car. I have a bonus coming up. I'll go ahead and buy it. And then they raised the price, and it got to, I think, up to $7,500 at the time. And I thought, it's not worth it. I can't justify that. But then it took a price dip, that fire sale, that I was like, oh yeah, this is a no-brainer. But if it was $8,000, I tell people now when they're considering buying a Tesla, whether or not they should get it, I tell them, get it now, get it, rolled into your payment and break it up, because having to come up with that kind of chunk of money at one time plus sales tax, it's hard to justify. But if you can break it up into your payments, it's much easier to swallow.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in that if you're a techie, you're into technology, and you want the bleeding edge, and you can afford it, then it's totally worth it. I don't have it, but I do. When we do plan on upgrading to get the 400+ mile range Model S, and we will get the full self-driving feature set as well, because you're sort of future-proofing the car, and so as those features come available, then we'll get to reap the benefits.
Dang it, Jason, then I'll have to be jealous of you.
No, you've got it. You've got hardware 3.
But you'll have 400 range.
That's true, yeah.
I would add that, you don't know till years from now, but you may, as the market realizes what FSD is worth, that may add into your resale value if you think about keeping the car a little shorter. Point. Out of curiosity, I looked at what my Model 3 would sell for on CarMax, and they don't build in, they just don't know yet, but they don't build in the FSD thing quite to what it's worth yet. And then as that increases, as the value of that increases, it actually might help your resale value. That's another thing to consider.
Well, we're just about to wrap it up here, I believe. And so I just want to give a big thanks for everyone who has participated. Thank you for coming in on the roundtable. I hope you were able to benefit from that. There was also a little video. I don't know if any of you had a chance to see that. When you signed up on the registration page, there's a video that Jason did of my solar system and everything, that you can watch anytime. It's a YouTube video. If you get that link off of there, you can certainly watch that anytime. And maybe we'll post it later on some other, I know the climate lobby people are posting it in some different places, and really appreciate all the videos that people did, all the tremendous effort and that everyone went through with Chris and the presenters, and so just really, hopefully we'll be able to do this. Hopefully we'll have one next year, and we'll be able to do it in person, and because the in-person thing is really, really a lot of fun to do. So, but I just want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart. I think it's a very important thing for us to share this knowledge and get rid of some of the myths that people have about EVs, so that we can help transition and do Tesla's stated goal of transitioning the world to sustainable transportation.
Great. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Rebecca, for putting this together. This has been really great, and thanks again for allowing us to be a part of it.
And
Great
happy
job.
driving, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. And if anybody has any follow-up questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Just feel free to reach out. Christoph Limpalair, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, anything like that. Be happy to answer questions.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.